back to Breakfast Television. It's 8:23. Joining us, friend of BT, Dr. Yvette Lu. We want to talk about bug bites, how to prevent them, and how to treat them. So can we start off with some of the most common bites that we may be seeing over the summer, especially with our kids? I find that's usually a big one.
The most important insects to be aware of are mosquitoes and ticks in British Columbia, because these two types of insects can carry disease. So let's start with mosquitoes.
Okay.
And the main disease that is important to know about for mosquitoes is West Nile virus. Now, West Nile virus is not that common in British Columbia. It's more common in the prairies, Ontario, and the United States. In British Columbia, there was really only one case last year, and that was acquired elsewhere, so it was not acquired in the province. However, they have found West Nile virus in crows and in horses here in British Columbia, and they've also found it in Washington State, and there have been cases in Washington State. So you can get West Nile virus if you're bitten by an infected mosquito. And most people who get West Nile virus don't have any symptoms. 80% of people.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so 80% of people have no symptoms, so that's fine. People just get rid of the virus on their own. But 20% of people do have symptoms, and it's usually like a mild flu-like illness, fever, malaise, joint pains, muscle pains, and stuff like that. What we need to worry about is the 1% of people who get a serious illness, and they can get encephalitis, which is an inflammation of the brain, meningitis, which is an inflammation of the lining of the spinal cord, and a polio-like paralysis.
Pretty serious stuff.
Yes, it's serious, and that's why I recommend that people prevent against mosquito bites. And especially if you're traveling, there are other mosquito-borne diseases like malaria, dengue fever, chikungunya. And so if you're going to travel, you definitely need to talk to your doctor about mosquito-borne illness.
Okay, and we'll talk in a second about how to prevent mosquito bites when you're camping or something, maybe out on your deck here in just a second.
Yes.
What about ticks? How common are they in BC?
Ticks are pretty common. There are 20 kinds of ticks that can bite, but only 3 kinds bite humans. So we only need to worry about those 3, and there are 2 tick-borne diseases that we need to worry about in BC. So one is called tick paralysis, and that's when a tick bites a person and starts secreting a toxin into their body. And that can cause paralysis starting from your feet and going up to your body. Now, if you remove the tick, then you can get better from the paralysis if you remove it in time. But if you don't diagnose the condition and you don't remove the tick, then this can be fatal. So that's called tick paralysis. And then the other one we've all heard about is Lyme disease.
Right.
So Lyme disease is caused when you're bitten by an infected tick. Lyme disease is not common in British Columbia. There are only 0.5 out of 100,000 cases. Sorry, 0.5 out of 100,000 people can get Lyme disease who are in British Columbia, and only 1% of ticks are infected. This is compared to the United States, where there are 29 cases per 100,000 people, and 40% of ticks are infected. So you can see that in British Columbia, where the prevalence is only 0.5 per 100,000 people, that is much lower than the United States. So you don't really have to worry about ticks as much in British Columbia.
So we've got mosquitoes, we've got ticks. Real quick, one other common bite that we might experience in British Columbia?
So there are bees, wasps, fire ants, and spiders. Really, spiders, the only one you have to worry about is a black widow spider, but black widow spiders are very shy. They usually don't bite people. So
let's go after the mosquitoes for a second, because those are definitely really common. What can we do this weekend or this week to prevent mosquito bites?
So you want to start by wearing long sleeve protective clothing. Light colored clothing is usually better than dark colored clothing. It tends to be less attractive to mosquitoes. And then you can either you can even tuck your pants into your boots so that you don't get mosquitoes biting you, and also ticks are less likely to crawl up into your pants. And use some mosquito repellent.
Does natural repellent work?
It usually doesn't work as well. Yeah, so the best repellent is DEET. It is very strong, so you don't want to use it in kids under the age of 6, and be very careful in using it in kids under the age of 2. Between the ages of 2 and 12, you want to use maximum 10% DEET, and after the age of 12, you can use up to 30% of DEET.
So all our efforts have failed. We've got a kid or ourselves covered in bites, maybe around our ankles while we've been camping, and we didn't have our pants tucked in. How do you treat, let's say, a really bad mosquito bite?
Okay, so there's a few types of reactions that you can get from bites. The first is like a sort of like a toxic reaction, so a little local redness and swelling. Sometimes the redness can expand to local joints, and in that case, you should probably see a doctor. You can put a little bit of hydrocortisone cream on it. You can use an ice cube. You can take antihistamines. A severe allergic reaction can be a medical emergency. That's called anaphylaxis. If you are known to have anaphylaxis, you should be carrying an epinephrine pen with you. And anaphylaxis symptoms are like swelling of the face, the eyelids, the cheeks, the tongue. You can have difficulty breathing, you can have difficulty talking, shortness of breath, cough, wheezing, abdominal pain, nausea, diarrhea, and hives all over your body, and that's a medical emergency.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Yvette Lu, friend of Breakfast Television. It's always great to have you back here, just planting little seeds of how to take care of us and our kids in case we get bit. We've got more Breakfast Television coming up after this.